Let's talk Harmony 1, specifically price action and what I think is likely to happen next. In this video, we're going to dive down into the charts. We're going to take a look at the short term and the long term and give you my thoughts and opinions on what I think is likely to happen next. Now, as I get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe? Tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you are going to be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, links in the description down below. Fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. We do a lot more technical analysis, lots more kind of AMAs, general chit chat, answer the questions that you guys have in Discord. So well worth checking it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Right, let's dive right down into this and take a look at Harmony 1 and what I think is actually going on here on this hourly chart. We are paired up with USDT. We are using Binance as a data source, so you can replicate that. This particular chart by using those settings. Right, so obviously we have this low point that was achieved, and if I just zoom out a little bit, you can see this kind of coming down into this range here, right? So we've had a good move up, we pulled back down, and then we started to move back up again. Okay, now this move up is not as impulsive as what we had over this side when we reached this low area of about 10.9 cent. Okay, so very good move and rocketed up here, and then we started to see the correction come down, and this move up is not as corrective, but it has done some pretty interesting things. The first thing we need to note is that the high point that we had yesterday here on Harmony 1 is higher than the point up this side. Okay, so this basically is telling us, even if this was some kind of A, B, C correction coming down, we've actually gone higher after going lower, right? And what I mean by this is this low point is lower than this low point, so we have a lower low, and we have this higher point going higher than this one over here. This basically means that this is an ABC, and it has finished at this point down here, okay? So a corrective move. So I'm just going to quickly draw that as in A, B, and that there was C, a short C wave, and we did not go down any lower. Okay, so that kind of completed the move. Let me just remove those as well. So then we kind of started to see a big kind of push up, and we had that high point. But what is next here for Harmony, right? So we kind of know what's happened, but we should probably be thinking about what actually happened here. Why is this now correcting the way that it is, right? And ultimately, this is a nice healthy correction, and I want to talk about that a little bit. So we had five impulsive moves up here, okay, and corrective come down. Now, that's not really easily visible until you go down to a 15-minute chart. On the 15-minute chart, it becomes a little bit clearer, and you can kind of see these micro movements a little bit more than you can, of course, than on the hourly chart, okay? But there is an impulsive move here, but we could articulate this just as an A wave up, for example, but you can't lose that momentum after a while, so it's easy to kind of think of this as 5 waves with some kind of short ABC correction move just after. Then we move up again, and again this actually looks like it was a fourth into a fifth wave. So again, we have 5 waves, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, so an ABC correction here. We then have a slightly larger move just like this, and we can come down and we go up higher, right? But there is one big caveat to this, right? So we can count it as 5 waves, but when we actually measure the distance on our wave 1 and we transpose over to wave 2, we can see that we didn't really reach the minimum requirement. The minimum requirement for wave 3 would have been 14.4 cent. This is 1.618 on the Fibonacci retracement tool. So we know it's not actually, technically speaking, 5 waves. So we should remove that, and we should treat it just as an ABC move. Okay, so A, B, extended C. Okay, that would be the correct way of looking at it. And we actually ended up with a double top here as well. Okay, and this signals us coming down. So if I grab hold of my horizontal ray, you can see we have the double top, that coming in at 14.3 cent. Okay, so essentially what you have here is then a B wave hits up the top here, and we fall down into a C. Okay, now the C should have actually ended where the A wave was. It should have been a flat correction, and you can kind of see we found this support level again. It should have been around here, but we lost the support and we fell down lower. Why is this important? Well, this is important because, again, just like we have an impulsive move up, we could end up with an impulsive move down. If we measure this here, at the moment, we've bounced right here on the 1.382. Not an impulsive move just yet, just a C wave low. If we come down to 13.2 without actually seeing a significant bounce, this here would then be classified as an impulsive break to the downside. And when we're thinking about a fifth wave potentially coming in and taking us down to 12.8 cent, right? So we have to be objective and start to think about, what is probable, what is not probable. Okay, so since we're right down at the bottom here, we've got two options. We are, as I said, potentially kind of come down towards those lower ranges, or we start to see reversal and we start to see a push upwards. Okay, and to help us understand the probability of this, we have the stochastic RSI, i.e. the momentum behind the price movement. And when we take a look at the volumes here, and they're not actually helping us understand, what's going on, right? We've actually got an increase in volume just around here as we've actually pulled the price down. So again, that actually keeps the stochastic RSI moving slowly to the downside, whereas actually what we want to do is we want to wipe that out really fast. And in order for that to happen, you want lower volumes, not higher volumes. So overall, though, there is a little bit of a decrease between these two peaks on that way down in the volume, but ultimately there was a little bit of an increase on the way up. And then we kind of stabilized, and what we want to do is we want to see a decrease in volume, or we want to see an increase in volume as we push the price up so that we can lift that stochastic RSI up slowly on this hourly chart. Okay, so for the most part, that's option kind of number one. As I said previously, though, this could go down a little bit lower if we go into this impulsive range, and this would then have a small ABC, which would be a fourth wave correction, and before finally coming down again lower, which would be probably additional 5 waves. So we want to be kind of open to the idea that it can go in both directions right now, but I think there's a higher probability of a bounce to the upside. We're not impulsive down yet, so as long as we hold this key area just here of about 13.4 cent, the 1.382, then we should be thinking about moving on up, and we should be thinking about corrective moves higher. Now, when we jump into the larger time frames, we're seeing the 4-hourly chart here correct down nicely as we have this correction come in. So again, the volumes are decreasing as we're pulling back on the 4-hourly chart. That's allowing us to basically see this stochastic RSI move quickly, okay, to the downside. So again, that's going to hopefully get us into a pretty good position so you kind of see a good move back to the upside. Okay, so again, when we actually start taking a look at this from so maybe a slightly different perspective here, we can see that we've kind of had a good traction. We've had this move up, and we're looking for a nice healthy correction, and that's kind of what we're looking at here, right? And nothing too glamorous to that effect. And if we do come down a little bit lower, it'd be rather unfortunate, because we'd wipe out a lot of the potential progress that has actually been made here with that low point. So we want to avoid that where possible. We want to find good support, and this is a good area of support right here, as it was an area of the previous highs. So again, we could be looking at good reversal if we can lower that stochastic RSI and get the momentum behind the price, but to the upside. As we take a look at the 8-hourly, we do need to see a correction. This is a more kind of midterm. We are going to be thinking of some kind of longer term corrective move here to wipe out the 8-hourly stochastic RSI, unless of course the volume continues to drop down massively on this 8-hour, and that allows us to move the stochastic RSI fast to the downside. The daily chart is also in the overbought area, so again, we need to see corrective action. So it is highly possible on the larger time frames that we are talking about 12.8, but on the smaller time frames, it's looking like we might get one last push higher before we actually start to see that corrective move to the downside. And I want to kind of just spend a little bit of time on this daily chart for a second here. Let me just remove the volumes, and let me show you what's going on potentially in this range, right? Because there's some interesting stuff here. I think it's worth noting, right? Because this could be a fourth wave with a fifth wave going higher just yet. So as we were talking about, potential reversals and all of those kind of good things, we've been talking about trying to get an impulsive break to the upsides. And if we actually grab hold of our Fibonacci retracement tool and we just grab this range just here and we're going through that onto the low point, we actually have crossed the 1.618 within this move, and therefore we can articulate this as a wave 1, a wave 2, this being wave 3, with a pullback for wave 4 and potentially coming up into a fifth wave higher. Okay, and there's some resistance lines up here that are probably going to be worth noting. 14.7, 14.9 cent, they're going to be resistance lines. Right up here is also going to be a pretty major one. That's going to be 15.3, right? So, and when we start thinking about this fifth wave going higher, there's going to be a fair amount of resistance to work our way through. And with stochastic RSIs on the higher end, on the daily, the 8-hour and 4-hour charts, for example, we are going to be looking at finding resistance here, and it's going to hit something and it's going to get the reversal. And once we have that, we should be expecting some kind of deeper ABC corrective move that would potentially take us down into these low ranges, which would correct all of those timelines, right? So we're talking about the same thing on different timelines ultimately, right? So the hourly, we're probably going to push up, and we want to see that kind of fifth wave higher, right? So that might have a good big break, right? And the 4-hour chart needs to be corrected, but we can of course spend more time up here. We have bounced from these ranges back up into the overbought area, so this is not unheard of. The 8-hour chart, we can of course see this continuing to ride out like this, so you can just continue to bounce around a bit. And the daily chart's only just in the overbought area. The weekly chart's right in the ground, right? So we are on the cusp of a potential big break to the upside here on Harmony 1, right? And I think it's going to really surprise people to the extent of what we're really looking at, right? Because if we actually zoom out a little bit on this weekly chart, we can see the real good progress that had been made here, right, on this journey to the upside. This looks like a pretty standard ABC correction on Harmony, A, B, and C coming down. And this here can be articulated as 5 waves, right? And it's even I don't have to measure this to know that this is an impulsive move, but you can really see it right here with this. And this entire move right now, this on our weekly chart, could be another ABC move, and we could be on the cusp of an additional big break to the upside into new all-time highs, right? And again, after this move, we'd expect another additional ABC and an additional 5 waves, right, on the larger time frame. So we're looking really, really good for Harmony long term, and the price targets on this thing is insane. So lots of different possibilities for Harmony 1, and I think there's huge potential to surpass many targets on this journey, right? If we start thinking about where things are potentially going to go, there's so many fantastic things on the horizon for Harmony 1. A $1 Harmony, I think, is actually a relatively comfortable area. There are some key targets that we're already talking about in terms of 59 cent, 80 cent. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some serious traction that happens to Harmony in the future. Too soon to really know anything concretely. But when we talk about everything that's kind of being built on the ecosystem and the ecosystem as a whole, the fundamentals of the project, the technicals of everything that's been going on right now, I'm actually thinking that we're going to see a very, very explosive end to the bull run for Harmony 1. And I think the price will absolutely shock many, many people in the space. So guys, I'm going to leave the video there. If you have found it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you are going to be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.